I got to start this off with a serious intro because this is we're making history today in the YNK podcast. For the first time ever, as a guest on his own podcast, just so modest to have himself as a guest on his own podcast. For the first time ever, just Mike.
Yeah.
We haven't had a setup like this since the great Larry King was on the show.
Yeah, this is serious.
If you were in this seat, Larry, you know.
Wearing a lot of different hats. Yeah, Larry, that was the last time, I want to say it was the last public appearance he made. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'll never forget that day. That was a special one. So I'm going to try to pretend like I don't live 20 feet away from you. Your bedroom's there. Mine's right down there.
I mean, the bedrooms have been changing. The dynamics have been slightly shifting, but yeah, we've been roomies for a long time at this point.
Generally, our rooms are pretty close. I think this is the furthest our
Yeah, we're in
bedrooms have
opposite
been.
wings.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna have to go into this like I don't see you every day. Actually, the house is big enough where I don't really, or none of us really see each other that often.
Yeah,
And
it's kind of nice.
I was on a fans podcast the other day, and they asked me, "What's it like, all of us living under the same roof for all these years?" It's been like 6 years, I think.
Yeah.
I asked what it's like. Do we ever fight? Do we ever argue? What's the chemistry? How would you explain it?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely like a second family, especially with a guy like Versace in the picture who can take the overall parenting vibe. And we got Mr. Steve, the CEO. But, you know, I say that in regards to just taking the general tasks of keeping a house together and making sure, you know, the mundane things get done, which are super important when you talk about everyday life. And he's a big part of that. Steve, no.
Are you fucking kidding me? Sit
He
down.
does it every time.
No toys. No toys today. No toys today. Sit down.
Steve knows we're podcasting every time.
No,
He
no
grabs the
toys.
squeaky toy. No.
Stop it. Sit down.
Get him out of here. Get out of there, Mr. Steve.
Fucking squirrel.
Yeah, but as far as us living under the same roof, I mean, it's something I feel like we've cultivated and matured into, you know? As we've gotten older, it's probably gotten easier because we all just kind of like our alone time, and we've gotten more successful and the houses get bigger, so it's easier to kind of have your own, because you think about it, we're, you know, grown men at this point, like really adult age. We don't really act it in a lot of ways, but.
Well, let's touch on that because I always have fun. I mean, you know me, like I do a bunch of normal shit all the time. I'm always like, you know, going out talking to people that know nothing about us.
Yeah.
And when I have those conversations,
They're hard to have.
I got to have that conversation. It's like, well, yeah, I do live in this nice house, but it's with 3 other grown men.
Yeah.
You know, as a guy in my 30s. How do you feel about that? I'm sure you don't give a fuck.
I don't give a shit. I mean, no, it's, for the most part, most people I'm engaging with outside of our group have an idea what we do, you know, and if they're ever if it comes up to like, what's your living situation, they definitely know what I'm doing, you know? So from my perspective, no, I mean, it's interesting. We've done it so different than most people, but if you think about it, most artists have entourages that live with them. This is just different because it's like, it's life, you know, long-term, lifelong friends, all working, all employees in their own right, you know, for under the same company, working for the same goal. So to answer your question, it has that team, you know, it's like when you live in a baseball house and you got 3 roommates and then like a bunch of the other teammates are roommates together, and it's kind of that vibe. Kind of have that one common goal vibe. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what it, man. I think the lifestyle definitely attributes to this feeling 100%, but I kind of feel like I'm just like an extended college in some ways. You
Oh,
know what I
big
mean?
time.
It really does feel that way. Like, as far as the dynamic of the house, I mean, we do a lot of work. We have a lot going on, you know, that we have to be present for, and that doesn't entail partying or, you know, being in the studio creating. There's a lot that, you know, that goes into running the whole business. So a lot of times it's like, hey, we're doing homework in the weekdays. It kind of has that feeling, doesn't it? You know, like you can't turn up all week Like there's practice in the mornings. You know, we're taking care of our body, taking care of work. It feels like we have that kind of work week feeling in a lot of ways. But that goes in waves. Think about the last 6 months, you know? We were finishing the album, traveling Nashville, all over the place, and definitely were more on the run and gun vibe where we were raging. If I'm making music and I'm like really in that music vibe, the day of the week and the time of the day does not matter, you know? Mm-hmm. So it goes in waves. Right now, I feel like we're more on a little bit of a grounded schedule. You know, we have our weekends and we get after it, but it's not as crazy as most people probably envision us under the same roof.
Let's talk about your allocation of time throughout the week and the flow of your week. Another question that I was asked on this last podcast was they were like, why don't you vlog? And I'm like, well, first of all, we're not YouTubers.
Yeah.
It's always been kind of like a negative stigma with us, just for us, not for anyone, but for us, because it's not really what we want to do.
Yeah.
But if you're going to give a little taste of what your day-to-day is like, let's start with like Monday through Thursday.
Man, right now I'm working, I've been pretty vocal about it on this podcast, but I'm working on my body a lot.
Yeah. Let's just run through the stuff you're doing, because you were just in your bedroom. I never know what's going on in there when you have that girl putting suction cups on your butt. You have suction cup marks on your butt right now.
It's called cupping. Yeah.
So a girl was in there cupping your butt for over an hour.
Yeah. No, I mean,
I hear you guys giggling through the door.
Yeah, we got a good little chemistry, you know. Some of the positions she's got me in there, and I'm ass naked, and like she'll like wrap me up with the blankets.
Are you on a table?
But she's stretching me and doing shit, and like half the time, like there's no way
You're
my
on the
hammer's
table.
just
She
not.
brings the table, and you're on the table.
Yeah, she brings the table.
Is it resemble like the milking table?
A little bit.
Like there's the hole for your dick, and
There isn't a hole. The hole is for your face. Yeah, no, there isn't a hole for the midsection region per se. But you could probably make that happen if push came to shove, you know. But it's a completely platonic relationship we got.
Technically, you could 69 the table, and your dick would go through the face hole.
Yeah, but your lower half would just be like in no man's land. Yeah, that's right.
I don't know if the labs will pick that up. Probably will.
Yeah, I hope so.
Can I tell you something that I did recently? You probably didn't notice because it was subtle, but the other day, this was a big move for me, by the way. I don't want to make this interview about myself, but this was a big move for me. I was in the gym, and I'm like scrolling through my old Instagram posts, like the old ones, like from the last like 2 years, 3 years ago, 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And like I just started going on an archiving spree where I'm like, oh God, I can't have this on here. And the first one that set me off was when we started doing this podcast. And like,
I love that one. I know.
And I just put my leg up like this, and I just rip a fart in the microphone. And I put it on Instagram.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is just a giant cock block. My entire Instagram is just a cock block.
I would argue against it. I mean, I talked about this with Blue recently, but I feel like, I don't know if this is the right terminology, and we're getting off track, but who gives a fuck? We are always off track. There's this terminology like the men and the women, the male gaze and the female gaze. And it's like, we think about, you know, from a male gaze, we're thinking, hey, what's attractive to a woman? I'm trying to attract a woman. You know?
Right.
And it's like, let me get my muscles, and, you know, like you have these ideologies, but they're coming from a male gaze. We're men. So we're like, what does a woman think's hot? You know, like I want to be that, you know? And I've seen it here and there, and I might be butchering the name or the terminologies, but, you know, really what I feel like in the past 3-4 years, I've learned with myself and just how I carry myself, even around other people, around women especially, is just like, I think women just want to feel comfortable. I think everyone just wants to feel comfortable. And if you think about what sex is, or, you know, being sexually attracted to someone where you want to hook up with them and get naked and roll around in bed with them, you know, and do all this personal, intimate stuff. It's a comfortability level, you know? And that, like, you know, just being so comfortable with yourself where you really, you know, obviously you don't want to lift your leg up at a date and fucking fart on the table.
You shart in your pants on camera and then put it on the internet. I mean, you got to draw the line somewhere.
No, there's definitely a blurred line that you've probably stepped over many times.
And I'm getting older, and like you see the older stuff. I mean, us fucking 6 to 7 years ago, You know, even longer than that, like 8 years ago,
Oh yeah.
like 2013.
We were just fucking kids.
I'm looking at stuff and like, dude, like it's cringeworthy.
I mean, 4 weeks ago or less, within the last month, you just talked about your hemorrhoids for 30 minutes in a podcast.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing. Like that, all right, I think it's when there's like ego-driven stuff where like I'm trying to look like the man.
Yeah.
You know, like when we first fell into fame and like, you know, I'm in a picture with like two girls like this and I captioned blowy sandwich or something.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like I see that, I'm like, a girl's gonna see this and think I'm the biggest fucking asshole.
Trust me, I've archived. I've been there.
But
there's nothing wrong with it.
I've never archived in my life.
Yeah, see, that's where we're different.
In my life. And I archived about 70 posts.
Yeah.
70.
Yeah, I mean, we're in a different headspace when we started, man. You know? Think about it. We're just so different. We didn't really know shit. And it was so crazy to us that girls wanted to, you know, just the way how crazy that it's scaled up so fast where you have normalcy, even as a baseball player, you know, you still have your normalcy where you just like, yeah, you go out, you might meet a girl, hook up, whatever. But like having women throw themselves at you is tough for any guy, I think.
Yeah.
I'd say tough in a way where it's hard to like not be absorbed by it and be a little dumbass about it, you know, which I think we definitely were.
Yeah.
But, you know, I don't know. I definitely think nowadays I'm way more being comfortable, you know, to your point. It's definitely not coming from an ego place, but just being comfortable in your own skin is like, I think it's super attractive to men and women. And when I say that, I mean, when I'm attracted to a guy in the sense of I like this guy, like I'll hang out with this dude, like not in that way, but you know what I mean? Like the type of friends, guys I keep company with, guys I want to come around, you know, catch a vibe with, whether they're, you know, in the group going out with us or whatever it may be. Those guys, like the people that are comfortable and I can sense that, those are the guys that are like, oh man, they're cool dudes.
Yeah.
You get a relaxed vibe from them, you know? And then in a girl, you know, a girl who feels comfortable in her own skin is super attractive to me.
I agree.
Which I didn't really have a gauge on that for a lot of the time.
Yeah.
It's a new thing.
I want to back up. You were talking about us doing this for so long. I mean, speaking from someone who's been in the spotlight for over a decade. What's that?
Has it been over?
Yeah.
We're approaching a decade. It was 2012.
I started working with you in 2011.
Was it?
Yeah.
2011. So yeah, it's a decade.
Like May or June, like that summer of 2011. I know. So what's that been like for you?
Man, obviously a long span of time and a long span of, you know, evolutions. But I've focused mainly on trying to remain myself. I really have. That's definitely been, and I wouldn't even say it's been like a huge effort, but that was the basis of the whole thing, just navigating it, you know? Like even when we were kids and might have been absorbed by the girls' attention or the fame a little bit and think it was important to post this and look cool or that, you know, I think people still rocked with us because they could tell we were kind of just being ourselves. And at that point we were just fresh out of college, you know, fresh out of college, dumbasses, you know? But from now to then, I just feel like I'm a totally different person. I look back at those older videos or just even the touring's boring or any of that stuff from that era. Even anytime before 2015, I look at that guy and I'm like, I'm confused. I'm confused how I'm the same as it, because it really does feel like a different person, you know? And I mean that in a positive way. You know, I do. I really do. I think we've kind of grown up in front of people. We talk about, and like think about my level of fame, you know, it's been very manageable. Yeah. You know, like this has been such a brick by brick thing. And I wonder what I would be like if it went fucking, you know, say I was at the level I'm at now and that happened in a 2-year span versus fucking 9. Like, or, you know, it would just, I don't know how I would have been or how I would have navigated it. I would hope I was able to stay grounded, but I am very proud of how we have a group, and I think that's why we coexist so well. I think all of us combined just kind of keep it together and keep it homegrown and keep it grassroots, and I just never let my feet get off the ground too far, you know? I am very proud of that. In regards to what fame's been like, I mean, it's an interesting thing.
Well, 10 years is interesting because you get new fans along the way, but then you have the ones that have been around for 10 years.
Yeah.
So we're at the point now where we have fans that are now getting families,
Oh yeah.
have kids,
Yeah.
and then we have some new fans that are like
Oh yeah.
18,
Totally.
19 years old.
It's a broad spectrum for
who,
sure.
who really like don't even know what the fuck happened 10 years ago.
Yeah, they just like know of Mike too.
Yeah, it's interesting.
There's a lot of people that come up to me. You see it? They're like, "Oh, Mike," or the podcast. Like they don't know any of the times before. But man, I really am a huge proponent, and I speak on it a lot. It's just like needing every step to get to where I am now. I really do like who we've kind of this space we've stepped into. I think it's a good balance of growing up, but also keeping your energy young and fresh and invigorated. Like I feel like when you're young in your early 20s, like you're kind of invigorated, and then sometimes life can beat you down by the time 10 years later. And I do feel like we still have a great balance of that invigorated, fresh feeling, and also feeling like we've grown up and matured. Fame, I will say, is just like another thing I'm super proud about is just the decisions we've made along the way to not exchange the commodity exchange of fame for, giving up control. And the way we've done things, it really I can't envision how this would look if I had done a record deal 5 years ago. What the hell would be going on?
Yeah.
It really feels like it came to fruition with this last album release, and like even the old fans, the new fans, everyone sees where we kind of brought it full circle. It's like an evolved version of the first Mike Stud music. So I don't know, man. The fame has been an awesome. It really has. This has been an amazing decade. Like there's no way to explain it. It's been an amazing fucking time, And I'm not sitting here like fuck fame, because again, I think the way we did it, it made it easier to navigate,
I agree.
And it's been an amazing and really fruitful experience, Like if I died tomorrow, man, like knock on wood, but like I don't know, I feel like we've had a fucking amazing go at it, And I think there's many lives to live, and that I hope to live and have a family and do all those amazing things and continue to grow and do what I want. But all I'm saying is like we went after it. I don't really have any regrets or feel like I wish I did this or I wish I did that, On the other side of that coin, the fame is tricky to navigate. And I think before I had it, I really wanted it, And then as it's been a slow achievement, but as I've kind of felt like, oh man, I get noticed kind of wherever I go, which is kind of, I'd say in this last year, it's taken a big step forward. It's just,
Yeah.
And not to say I dislike that in any way. I'm just saying, like, I got to the threshold where you're just like, that's not what it's about. I don't give a fuck. I almost try to avoid the fame aspects of this and look to grow successful businesses so we can take care of ourselves and our families,
There's got to be a couple perks to the fame, though, right?
Oh, there's a ton.
That you've enjoyed?
There's a ton, man. I mean, my relationship with women I've had a really rare experience, just like, as I said, especially as I've gotten older and gotten more comfortable with this position that I'm in, I've enjoyed all the fruits of the labor for sure. And I feel like it's kind of like right where I'm supposed to be on it. I can't imagine myself in a real relationship. Like, you know what I mean? It all feels kind of like I've fallen into the right place with it. But yeah, going places and getting treated nicely, men, women, by anyone, just like cool people. And someone said something to me recently that was really eye-opening to me. It was just like no one's upset to see you.
Yep.
That's a cool thing. It's a cool thing. Like you think about the doctors or the dentist or anyone. There's so many roles in society where just kind of like and you got to deal with that. Like people not wanting to hear from you or see you. Whether your job is or whatever your role in society is. It is a really nice place to feel like. If I meet somebody, they want to be their best version of themselves, They want to engage in a positive way. That's dope.
Yeah, that's great. My favorite is on tour for me. For you, it's very unmanageable because it's like 1,000 people at a show. they're all gonna want to fucking talk to you.
Right.
1,000 person at a show, maybe like a quarter of them would want to talk to me. If I go out to a bar, there's gonna be like 7 or 8 guys that are just gonna want to buy me drinks all night. Maybe sprinkle a couple girls in there that might want to hang out with me.
A few nose beers. Who knows?
That's like right in my sweet spot. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know that. I know that.
7 to 10 people that are just like psyched to be around you
Yeah.
and just take care of you all night. Like
It's a night. It's thinking about energy and shit, and like think about just like we're all vibration, and we talk about the law of attraction. Just being surrounded by a bunch of people that are excited to be with you.
Yeah.
That's like an uplifting feeling that you take for granted. I didn't really understand what that was, you know. And I look forward to touring because we haven't toured with us in this mental headspace, you know. Like I used to kind of dread certain aspects because it is draining, you know.
Yep.
I want to be at my best, so I engage with everyone like, you know, it's an important moment. Like whether it's a meet and greet or somebody I run into, you know. Sometimes you might not exactly be in the right vibe for that. So, you know, but yeah, I remember vividly I was around 2015 where it went over that threshold, maybe 2014, where I got, you know, substantially a bit more famous, and it started to get hard to kind of do the completely normal thing. Where you're like, oh, let's go to the bar, you know, or like, let's go here and do that and go to this house party or do this and that. You know, those things got a little more hard for me I was too draining. And then I remember feeling a little butthurt about that because you guys would go do it and I'd be like, fuck you guys, you know? Because like when I would go, I'd end up kind of taking more pictures than having less drinks.
That's what I'm saying. I'm right in the sweet spot.
You are, yeah.
Right in the sweet spot.
Nice.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like, dude, that's kind of how I feel about the fame level I'm at now. Like,
Yeah.
I could still walk down the middle of the fucking main street and like, you know, a few people might say what's up. Depends on the crowd. Maybe certain places it might get a little crazier than others. But I have that nice middle ground, generally speaking. When I'm on tour, it's another story, you know, because there's so many Steves in one area. It's tough to pop Steve to bop around and not get caught everywhere. But in the regular life, that's kind of how I feel. And that's kind of why I try to keep it that way. It doesn't make a lot of sense because we are trying to get more successful. I'm putting out music and wanting people to love it, you know, but it's a double-edged sword, you know? I don't know. I definitely like where I'm at, where I can like live a normal life. I don't want to be defined by this chapter, you know? As much as you'd be like, oh man, you've been doing it for a decade. Like, dude, you realize the first 2 decades of my life, none of this was even in my realm of possibility. I was a student athlete baseball player. My dream was to be in the MLB, you know?
Yep.
So for all this to happen, it's been a decade and it feels like a long time, but I feel so young. And I definitely feel like when I say I don't want to be defined by this chapter, there's nothing negative. It's more so like, man, I don't need to go balls to the wall and go crazy and I don't want to let my life get off track living the rock star shit when I know I want to like go on and do other things.
All right, so let's back up because you said hypothetically, if you die tomorrow, let's assume that you don't die tomorrow. What does the next 10 years look like for you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a huge plan guy, as I think it's pretty obvious. And
how do you envision it?
I envision, man, I definitely want to continue. I'm going to continue making music and creating content for a while. I don't know. I can't put a year on that. You know what I mean? I definitely want to continue, especially on the music side, and I think especially, you know, on the podcast side for some time. On the other side of that, I don't really want to be like on my phone, and I do hate that side of it. You know, and I do think it's avoidable going forward, and I can curate a team that can kind of manage the things for me, so I don't. Because it does take up a lot of my energy, even though I use it positively, I believe, you know. I engage with a lot of the fans there. But I do see my life branching off. I don't know when. If it's within the next 10 years, it's hard to say, you know. You know, will I be making music into my 40s? I don't know, you know. I think it's still a little hard to say because like we are drifting in that country vein, and I'm young in the country space. Not that it's country music, but you know what I mean. Yeah. I'm not like rapping about money, cars, and clothes, you know, which I feel like something is tied to a younger age, you know. So I don't know if I go on and make music for the next 10 years. I know I will for the time being in the next 3, 4 at least, you know. But I want a family, and like I again, this is subject to change, but I do want a normal family. Like I would love that at some point. And I think when you have a kid, especially if you feel like it's the right time and you're prepared, no matter what, it's the most amazing thing. But especially if I can manage this the right way and like start a family and really be able to dedicate a lot of time to fatherhood, I feel like that's like a second life, you know?
Yep.
It's a whole other experience. I don't know. I want to travel the world, you know? We have traveled a lot, but it's mainly domestic, you know?
Yep.
I want to go see new places. I want to see new things. And I
Mm-hmm.
definitely want to start a family at some point. Whether it's traditional family or not, I don't know, but I definitely want to have kids.
Yeah, two things that both of my parents have said that just like blow my mind. From a business side, my dad said what he ended up doing throughout his career didn't exist until he was 40.
Mm-hmm.
So like technologically, it didn't exist until he turned 40.
Yeah.
So up until 40 years old, he had no idea what his destiny was.
Right.
He didn't know what his life was going to end up as, you know?
I truly subscribe to that. That's kind of why I led the answer off like that. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's hard for me I'm not a planner, but yeah,
So, you know,
that's a real thing.
we're not even close to 40. We're not that close. And, you know, it's just, it comes down to the you never know ideology.
And that's something to live by forever, honestly. I will.
Yeah, because there are things that will dictate where your life goes, and it could happen at any
I
moment.
mean, who knows? You go to the supermarket tomorrow and you fucking meet a girl, changes everything. Who knows? You know?
Exactly.
I don't know.
And then my mother said, which I'm still not buying, but I'm gonna do my best and be open-minded. She said the biggest success in her life was having children.
Yeah.
Like my brother and I, like she said, that's
A lot of mothers feel
that's
that way.
as good as it gets for her.
Yeah.
We're the prize.
Yeah. My sister's like that. My mom's like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I think it's more of a feminine thing, you know.
Yeah.
They give birth.
I know.
You know, women are, I think, men and women obviously both serve their purpose, but to imagine the duty of giving life.
Yeah, the maternal instincts that come with that.
There's nothing higher than that. So, you know, I look to women for a lot of the inspiration and just like spirituality and being in touch with the right things. The men are the breadwinners, and in modern day society, that could be very distracting from like family and some of the main core values I think that are important, you know? Again, another thing I really hope to like just continue to balance because I want to make money and be successful for sure. Part of that is being the breadwinner. But I want to be a fucking present. I want to be on my phone and like, you know those dads who are like, I'll be 20 minutes late to the board meeting. Like, I get it, you know, but I just don't want to be that, you know? So I do feel like I'm right where I need to be. And I think that's the only really thing that matters, bro. No matter where you are in the journey, like whether you're a kid or you're, you know, a teenager, 20, any, as long as you feel like you're somewhere and you're not looking over there wishing you were there, you know, that is how I feel. And I know that's not easy to achieve. So I try to bring myself back there when I'm a little down or a little off or a little slow or unmotivated. It is a blessing to feel like where else would you want to be, you know? What else would you want to be doing? And I think that's a catalyst for me that's why I'm able to stay positive way more than I ever used to be, you know? And for a while, I might have been a little lost or confused or not sure if this was it, where now I kind of have that. And that's a big part of the keep going idea, bro. Like you said, your dad you keep going and you keep your head down and you enjoy where you are. These new opportunities will present themselves. New things exist, new things come into your world, you know? But right now, it does feel, I can't think of another place I'd rather be, you know? It's been a wild, weird ride we've had. It's definitely super unorthodox. Not many people have ever lived like us, ever.
Not really anyone.
Yeah, and even if they were artists, they didn't do it independently and like create a little family and team and just live together and kind of on the outskirts of the music industry the whole time, but have enough success where you've been doing it for a decade, you know?
Yeah.
It's an interesting thing.
Do you feel alienated in any way by the lifestyle that you live and not being able to relate, or having people not being able to relate to you?
Yeah, no, definitely. It's interesting. I've noticed that sometimes I feel lonely, and I think that's why. I don't necessarily think it's like, oh, I need a girlfriend, because I know overall
Just anyone being able to relate.
Yeah, no, I think emotionally lonely sometimes I feel because we're living this like nomadic kind of, rock star lifestyle in some ways, which is alienating. You know, think about the idea like what relatives, the word relatives.
Mm-hmm.
Like I go home and my relatives can't relate to anything I've done.
Yeah.
Your relatives can't relate, like that's an interesting thing. I think it definitely gives off a slight isolation
Mm-hmm.
to just your being. Like sometimes I feel a little alone just in general. And it's crazy because I have 3 companions.
Mm-hmm.
I have companions more. Well, you count Foley and people who can understand everything I've been through more or less. And not to say my parents aren't super understanding and they relate as much as they can. But, we've gone on and we've just done so much. And yeah, I think that's part of the human experience. I fight through those nights or those days where I'm just like kind of feel lonely. Definitely feel alienated in some ways sometimes, but like, doesn't everyone in
Yeah.
one way or another? Doesn't everyone? I would argue everyone does in their own way,
Mm-hmm.
and to keep a fresh perspective on it is what's key. And I think that's why I've gone the way I've gone. I purposely go out of my way to try to keep my perspective tuned in. Like, hey, yeah, it can be lonely a little bit, or yeah, it's a little hard to be fucking moving around all the time and not have much stability.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's hard to try to break into the music industry and continue to scale from the outskirts. It is, all those things are valid points, but like if you switch the perspective on it, I'm blessed to have the opportunity. I'm blessed to have, how many people can say they've rolled around with like the same dudes and done all this crazy shit?
I know.
Like a lot of kids message me, a lot of fans, older guys now, man, look up to you guys. Like I love that you guys stayed together. And me and my boys always talk about how crazy it would be to live like that.
Of course, we're grateful for it.
Yeah.
But you talk about our lifestyle. We're 30. We're all living under a roof.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we work hard, but we dictate our own schedules. We wake up every day. We decide what we want to do. If we want to spend 12 hours working on music or a new idea or a new business, we can do it. If we want to fucking sleep and watch TV all day, we can do it. If we want to go to the gym and have a fitness day, we can do it. If we want to, work out at 2 in the afternoon, we can do it. No one can really relate to that.
It really is. When I hear that out loud, it's like, man, I have nothing. There's so much more to be happy about versus complain about when I hear those circumstances. Yes, there's an alienation factor, but man, I would really not be good at waking up at this hour, having to be here and do this and work, on the other side of that coin. I would choose the coin we're on,
Yeah.
and it is alienating sometimes, and it can be frustrating sometimes. But I think, like I said, man, it's a yin and a yang of life. We can't have all this great shit and not have like its own set of challenges that come with it,
Mm-hmm.
And that's the best way of looking at what anyone's ever going through. It's what I try to tell everyone.
Mm-hmm.
There's pros and cons to the human experience, man. I'm happy that I see it this way, because for a long time I didn't, and I kind of felt like I was going down the wrong side as far as my perspective,
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm able to balance it and look at it and be grateful.
Let's talk. You were talking about core values earlier. One of my favorite parts of Jay Shetty's book, he puts it so simply. Just think about what your core values are. Think about how you're living out those core values every day, how much attention you're paying to them. And if it matches up, you know what I mean? Like say family is one of your core values, how often are you talking to your family every week?
True.
If you're not with them, what would you say your core values are?
Well, I think overall the core values, if I had to pick one,
No, there's a couple.
a few.
Yeah, a handful.
So peace and harmony, I would put as one, like feeling at peace in the present and just like, kind of in harmony with life and not resisting shit. Kind of the shit I preach all the time. But I feel like if I'm there, then I'm talking to my parents. I'm taking care of myself. If I have things I need to do for my body, I'm doing them. I'm not kind of losing balance or just partying. I'm checking all the boxes. That's when I feel like I'm in peace and harmony with shit. That would be a core value. I don't know if that's really a value.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Anything can be a value, really.
Yeah, being honestly, yeah, and like being like legitimately a kind person. Seriously, not having like any bad vibes with anybody, any tension with anybody. When you talk to the waiter, you give your those experiences. I've worked hard to eliminate those experiences in my life where I'm like, I used to have that bone in my body where I'd like perk up and chirp people and have negative tension with people if they challenge me. All that, but releasing that and being like a kind person pretty much almost every time and every occasion as much as I possibly can. I think that's my no. If I had to pick one, that'd be my core core value. Family, of course, family, friends, but these are all falling under peace and harmony and kindness. You know, like those are all important. I like feeling productive. You know, but I don't necessarily like think it's about the tangible successes. You know, I think it's about the overall general successes of life, which is that balance I talk about. I don't know. I don't know if those are good answers, but that's what comes to mind.
Yeah, no, those are good answers. Those are good. Something you just said kind of reminded me of another thing. Now, with music or anything that you do you feel like you are enjoying the process over enjoying the results?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if you think about back in the Closer, for anyone listening, and I put out, if you weren't a fan, we put out the Closer album, and that was kind of
2014, 2013 or 2014.
Yeah,
I think
2014.
Relief was 2013, Closer was 2014.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I remember that, like, I had that kind of whole speech about, you know, happiness isn't a place. It's what I forget it exactly. It's not a. I was like, happiness isn't a brand new house. It's not a. It's a fucking journey. I forget exactly how I said it, but that was the idea of Closer. Is just like, it's about the journey. You're always gonna feel closer. You're never gonna feel like, oh, I've arrived. This is it. You know?
Yeah.
Like, and that's so true. I don't know. My career has gone a very strange. You know, it's been a very incremental, long, you know, step-by-step process. But I have always just felt a little closer and closer to who I'm supposed to be and who I want to be and what I want to achieve, you know?
Yeah.
And I do feel like I really do enjoy the journey a lot. I really do. Now, has there been many times where I'm like, why the fuck can I get that break? Or why don't they hear this? Or, you know, like, why don't they see it this way? You know, there's been many times where I've wanted more of the success, the tangible success. But in recent times, no, I mean, I've been able to dial back into the process, you know? Now, I just put out an album, and it was something that we were working on for a long time. And I do feel like I'm experiencing a little of the lulls on the backside of it, but way less.
Yeah.
You know, way less than you'd expect. You know, you put out a project you worked so much on, and it had, you know, great success, but we're also like not able to tour right away. You know, so I'm sitting here and I'm like not sure what, I've felt this a little restlessness that's come, and I do attribute that to the come down of putting out something, you know, something you've been poured your heart into for a long time. And that roller coaster of, you know, the achievement, when the achievements come, we got some great accolades on this, you know? And those are all something I really wanted. And when they came, it didn't feel so special. It felt great, you know? But generally speaking, I think more often than not, I am dialed into the journey a lot more than the destination. I don't even know what my destination is. I really don't. I don't know if I'm supposed to be this big famous musician. I mean, I've already gone a lot further in that than I ever thought I would, you know, to be completely honest. So I don't know what my destination is, and I think that makes it a little easier just to enjoy the now.
Yeah. Well, just more so on trying to achieve anything, like music, for example. You know, I get asked a lot, and I'm sure you get asked even more, of like, what's your advice for someone who's trying to achieve anything, you know? And that's why I brought this up, because my advice is always, especially now in today's society where everything's so overstimulated and there's so much, everything's so accessible. Everyone can get anything at a drop of a dime. And I think it's forced people to be impatient with results. And my advice is always, you know, if you should be focused on enjoying the process of doing anything. It could be music. It could be,
anything,
it could be whatever you're doing. As long as you enjoy the process, you're going to put a lot of time into it because you enjoy the process. And when you put a lot of time into it, after a couple of years, you're going to be an expert, and you're not even worrying about where it's going to lead. You're just going to enjoy that you're doing it.
It's facts.
And then all this great stuff is going to get attracted to you. The power, like the power of attraction, it's gonna attract to you.
Right.
So instead of like being impatient for a certain result, those results are kind of coming to you over time.
Yeah.
So that's always been my advice. What would be your advice for someone who's trying to achieve something?
Yeah, I mean, look, I really think that's a great answer. But when you talk about, if you think about what we talk about so much on the podcast, it's just like, yeah, go after that job, go after that girl, go live somewhere else if you want to. That intuitive feeling, I really believe, it's a similar answer, but it's a different. I'm talking about the intuition. It's just like, follow your fucking intuition as much as you possibly can. Because in turn, you get cause and effect. We're both talking about the same thing, kind of. Because if your intuition guides you towards a place that's going to give you that aha moment, like, this is what I love. This is why I'm here. This is what I love, then all of a sudden, work isn't work. And to your point, you don't need the big paycheck to come to be able to enjoy your human experience. Because when you wake up, you feel grateful that you're able to do that. You feel it's a win every day when you're like, oh, I get to create, or whatever it may be. I get to cook. I get to be a chef. Whatever it may be. But my biggest advice would be really try to tune into yourself and your intuition. It's a little bit more of a spiritual answer, but really puts you in the same place as your advice. It's like, yeah, man, when you can find yourself in a place that feels just right, I want everyone to feel that. I really do want everyone to experience that, because I think it's one of the better feelings to have as a human being. It's just like, yeah, like I said, I'm right where I want to be. I wouldn't want to be somewhere else in someone else's shoes. That's it's a really nice feeling to achieve. And more than a tangible win like a paycheck, that's an everyday paycheck. And you're like, I like what I'm doing. I feel like this is right where I'm supposed to be, Maybe I haven't made the big dollars yet, or I haven't met my soulmate yet, or whatever. But I do feel like I'm right in flow with what my intuition wanted to bring me,
Now, were you playing baseball and making music at the same time? Did they overlap?
Yeah.
Would you say you had that feeling when you first started making
Absolutely.
music? Yeah.
I mean, think about it, bro. So to paint the picture, I was in Georgetown grad school, business grad school, which is challenging. I'm coming off 2 years of not playing baseball. The last time I really pitched and didn't have an injury, I was an All-American at Duke. So I was already coming from a place of like, oh, I'm going to be better. Like, this has sucked, waiting and rehabbing, but I'm going to be better. So then I get to Georgetown. It's not true. My arm is not better. I'm noticeably like not as good of a pitcher as I was prior to, on the back end of the surgery. I'm in night classes. In the mornings, I'm waking up doing a mandatory internship for Georgetown grad at a sports. It was like a sports business academy that I would go to and do an internship.
Is that the internship where you had the alert on your computer?
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell us about that real quick.
Yeah. So to this day, I still get them. On. They're on. What are they on Sunday nights? Because on Monday morning, I had to turn in basically a blog of the work I did at my internship. And I hated the internship and I hated the blogs. And I just remember thinking, like, how the fuck did I get here? Like, I was an All-American. My whole life I had this dream and I was very close, and then I got injured. And, 2 years later, I'm in Washington, D.C. at Georgetown with all new people. I'm doing shit I really don't want to do, and I can't really pitch the same. It was a low point. I didn't share that with my family or anyone, but it was pretty, for a very happy kid, I was like, the first time I was like, ooh, maybe, it's like, this isn't working out the way I thought it was, Thought I was going to be a big leaguer, and like, so back to the story, as far as I would have a reminder on every Sunday night to turn in my blog, because it needed to be turned in before midnight. And to this day, I still get those on Sunday nights. It reminds me of like how far I've come, and I remember back then, that was essentially when I started making music right around then. So to bring it all back, I'm doing that internship. I'm in Georgetown grad night classes. I'm, working out. I'm rehabbing my arm, which is not going great. So I'm really focused on rehabbing my arm, and I'm going to practices, and I'm doing, schoolwork too. A lot of schoolwork for the grad program was tough. And this is the time I started making music in my room. Like when I really started taking it,
What made you want to start making it?
well, I made a little bit at Duke with Marcus a little bit. And then, man, my intuition, I was just drawn to it. I don't know why. I was drawn to it. I initially got drawn to it with I kind of had a new abundance of free time as I was injured. And, I got into it. But ironically, like, I didn't have any time at Georgetown when the Mike Stud thing really started to take off. But I would go back after games. I'd work on music from fucking midnight to 4 a.m. and then wake up at 8 a.m. and go to the internship, and then have a full day of, rehab, class, and baseball. So I had no real reason to do it outside of, like, I was drawn to it, Something inside me was calling me to it. I don't know. I wish I could feel it exactly how it felt, because it's a long time ago. But yeah, man, I just started doing it, and no one understood it, and everyone kind of laughed at it. Thought it was silly.
Now, were you just making music for the pure joy of making music, or were you actually thinking about putting it out?
Yeah, I mean, for the beginning phases, I absolutely was just doing it for the joy, and just because I felt inclined to. And again, I had some free time that I needed to kill, and for whatever reason, pretty quickly, as soon as I released like one or two songs, partially because, the fucking first one really worked. College Humor was the first one I put out. It, automatically, for whatever reason in my head, I was just like, oh, I could do this, And it was silly and outlandish to think that, but I didn't know that. And like they talk about the ignorance, is bliss. I didn't know how hard it was or how long of a climb it was to make music and become successful in that space. I just never thought of it and thought I could do it. And for most people around me, they're like, yeah, all right. Like, I always got that vibe from my teammates, and my parents didn't know what to expect, but they always believed in me,
Let's talk about College Humor for a second. I bet you a lot of listeners don't even know this song, because it was the first one, really. You made the song. What was the thought process beyond that? Because obviously a video was made and then you put it all out.
Yeah.
When you were making that and when you finished it, what was the thought process of you actually like putting this into an actual release?
Yeah, I think at that point I was just putting music on like a little cheap website my buddy made. It was like MikeSteadMusic.com, I believe. And then Patty Quinn, who's still in the picture and helped on the documentary recently, lifelong, since been a contributor from the very beginning, and he hit me up. He's like, dude, you're fucking good at music. I like this. Like, I'll come to you. Like, let's shoot a video for that. And I was just like, all right, dope,
So you put the song on this website that you made. Patty heard it and he said you should make a video.
And he only heard it because I'm from the same town.
Right.
So like he knew me. And like somewhere caught wind of it a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking hundreds of listens on these songs. Like,
yeah.
I was just it was not like, hey man, my music career starts now. It wasn't that, But it took a little lucky breaks from the universe, like having a Patty Quinn say, hey, I'll come shoot that for you for free. Because if it cost me any money, I had nothing.
Yeah.
And then enter Jon Kilmer, same scenario. You came in, like, I didn't have money to shoot videos.
But the first one is interesting, though, because that's like the first little push, Yeah,
I mean, I definitely didn't look at it like a career starter.
Oh, no, of course. But what I'm saying is once it was out, that reception that it got, I'm sure fueled you in a way to keep going.
It awoke something in me that I think needed to be awakened again. I was kind of a dog in baseball. Like, I was really always the best. And then even when I went to Duke, I wasn't supposed to be, but I was. And I always had this, like, I don't know, I just kind of had that thing in me where I could always get it done, And then, like, I was out for 2 years and I felt like shit was passing me by, like my buddies who I'm I felt like I was better than or at the same level going on to get drafted. And I'm like in my dorm room at Duke, like trying not to cry, but I'm also happy for them. Like I want them to achieve their dreams. But I had this whole phase where I felt like I was just kind of like left behind in a lull. 2 years of not playing, and that was really my whole purpose at that point in my head.
Yeah.
Was to be a pro baseball player. And I think it woke that beast in me again to like be a dog, just fucking do it.
Yeah.
And I started getting attention on campus a little bit. At that point it was so small, I didn't mean a whole ton, but it did wake something up in me, and I think that intuition wheel kept churning. Like, hey, yeah, keep going this way. Like, put out another song. I don't know. I can't put my finger on a day or a time where I was like, that's when I knew. Just kind of this general feeling swept over me pretty quickly that I could do it.
I know, and I knew you were that type of person because, I mean, you were never originally a musical person.
No.
You didn't even know it was inside you.
No.
And like you said, you kind of had that like thing inside you where you were a dog in baseball because you were just going to do it. And then when you started doing music, I mean, I'm sure you didn't think you were the best in the beginning. You're probably like, I'm just fucking around.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you couldn't really sing. You didn't really know how the software worked to record the music.
No idea.
I mean, writing, you were kind of always good from the beginning, really.
Yeah.
Like
it's a different style of music then, but yes.
Lyrically, yeah.
Yeah.
But so much of like the musical side of things you learned along the way.
Yeah.
And I think it's because of that thing that was inside you that just kind of like forces you to
Yes.
do it,
Yes. This is like that
whether it's like the winning instinct or whatever is inside you that you had from sports,
Yeah, the don't try idea really dates back that far. You know what I mean? Like, just do it. Just do it. I had no fucking idea what I was doing. Like, just to put in perspective, my career got started on GarageBand on a $90 mic, recording myself, didn't know how to do it. Just figured it out, mixed it myself right there on GarageBand, put it out. Shot a video for my buddy's camera, which was, a fucking whatever it was, a 5D or something. But my point is, if you got that real fucking itch inside you, just go fucking do it. Don't like, let me try to learn. Just fucking do it,
That's rare though, because I mean, especially in music, a lot of it is like God-given talent.
Yeah.
That a lot of people have.
I just like muscled it.
They're like, and dude, you muscled it all along the way for 10 years. You think about the beginning of where you were at. Think about right now, you learn Pro Tools, your voice is 10 times better, you can sing way better, lyrically you're better. Like all of it's just better because you fucking muscled it all the way through.
Keep going story.
Are you proud of yourself for that?
Yeah, I am. Sometimes I think about it and I'm like, it's interesting how this is played out, and it's also an interesting thing kind of just making music the way I do. I'm like in my room alone most of the time, It's a very personal experience, and sometimes you feel alone there and you're like, I wish I could sing better. But like I kind of put all that to rest and just started being myself on the mic. And I think that's why the music got better and it started feeling so natural to me. As far as being proud, yeah, I mean, I actually like the journaling aspect a lot and all that stuff, the reflection side, because I don't naturally reflect well on things. Like I'm not like, I wasn't really even very emotional person. Now I'm a lot more emotional, but tuning in with your emotions and giving yourself praise and being nice to yourself, that's a new concept, I was always kind of this ego and like knew I could do shit, but never once did I really look back and reflect and be like, man, that's pretty special, It's a special time in my life type thing. And I've had that realization multiple times in the last few years. And I try to remind myself actually more, because I am wired to be my harshest critic, and I think everyone is. I think you are to yourself. I think most people who are living in this current society, you kind of always check. If you're not having that internal dialogue, that's like, am I making the most of my potential? If you're not having that, I think that's very, very rare. And I almost think it's a good thing to have that dialogue. And on the same side of that coin, like, do you praise yourself and do you pat yourself on the back when it's necessary? I really wasn't one of those guys, and it's been nice to do that to myself. It does help me through and help me stay positive and help me stay grateful, you know? But yeah, I'm overall, I'm very proud. I'm very proud of what we've done. I feel like it's been a group effort. I'm proud of the fan base we've cultivated, and I'm proud of the impact. I feel like we're making a great impact. Albeit, you know, I think it's even close to the millions as far as like, you know, multi-millions of people listen to the music. So you could argue I'm impacting all the listeners. But on a more core level, just like people who listen to this podcast, people who follow us on social media, I think we're making a good impact, and I'm proud of that. You know, I'm proud of who we're becoming and what our path is. I'm definitely proud of myself. I don't really say it to myself much, but to figure out the music the way I have, like even to this day, I'm not musically trained. Kind of self-taught in it all. I just go off this thing I just go off this idea in my head. I don't know what keys I'm singing. I don't know, you know, I really don't. Like, it's just inside of me. I get up on a microphone and just, you know, let it out. So that is really cool that I've been able to manage it and actually actualize it into real music that can be transcended and help people, you know? And that's dope. Yeah, I definitely think it's been a really cool, eye-opening experience.
You started recording in your bedroom on GarageBand. Then you made your way up to start working in these like grand studios.
Yeah.
And now you're back in your bedroom again, kind of doing it like you were in the beginning.
Nice.
Do you kind of feel like a little nostalgic vibe that you're kind of doing it how you started?
I've actually thought about that recently. I think I wouldn't even say it's nostalgic.
Does it bring back that little spark?
Yeah, there's a spark there, but it's like, it's always how you initially, like, it feels like this one big cycle where you like, you go on this journey, you're like, oh, that's important. Let me get over there. That's important. Let me get over there. And you come right back to where you started. It's the story of The Alchemist.
The Alchemist, yeah.
That's why, I mean, dude, when I read The Alchemist, I like cried. I like literally tears, like I had tears because I was like, this is how I feel.
He's just supposed to be a shepherd with his sheep on his
Yeah. I mean, the story, you know, he had to go all these places and see the whole world. And that's how I feel like what I've done.
Yeah.
Just got on this magic school bus and like rode around and talked to all these hundreds of thousands of people and shared spaces and, you know, house jumped and done all this crazy shit we've done, only to come back and just end by myself in the room again.
Yeah.
You know, the house has got bigger, but it's the same guys and I'm in the same room, and there's something really fucking nice about that and endearing about it, and it definitely tells a story to me. I think when I talk about intuition so much, that's why. It's just like the shit that feels right to you that you just do. That's how it's supposed to be, you know? I'm looking around at the culture. I'm like, ooh, I want to be in that nice studio. I want to live in LA. I want to be at those houses and do that and be in the studio with the #1 artist. And I went and did all that shit, you know, and just to go back here and make my best music in my fucking room. And something really symbolic about that, for sure.
The same thing hit me probably about a year ago. I stumbled a picture of myself when I was 16 years old. And I played sports and stuff, but I mean, after all that was over, the school, the sports, I came home, I locked myself in my room, and I had this like, you know, this was a long time ago. Computers weren't what they are now. There was no recording software that I knew of that was accessible to me at 16 years old. And I'm just like figuring out ways with my like $200 guitar and my shitty little keyboard to like somehow make music, you know, and songs and stuff like that. And there's a picture of me 16 years old where like I have all like my music stuff, and someone must have taken a picture of me, and I stumbled across it, and I was almost starting to tear up because it's like
Crazy.
The full circle, you know, like I'm still in my room making music too.
Yeah.
You know, like a whole nother lifetime later.
Yeah.
So
it's crazy, man.
Yeah, I definitely know where you're coming from, and it's
it's
crazy.
It's a nice realization. I mean, if you keep your eyes open, I feel like, and your heart open, and your mind open, you know, life gives you, it's just the best teacher. It's where all the wisdom, I feel like, it's all the people I study, and like, I feel like I've fell into some of that wisdom just by experiencing all this weird stuff that we've done, you know, that experiential wisdom. And all that is just living life. Like, if you really go and live your life and go live it, you're going to get a fucking lot of lessons, you know, you're going to get a lot of truths. Universal truth.
I think what's important though is to to keep your eyes open for those truths.
Absolutely.
A lot of people have
Your heart, your eyes.
A lot of people have tunnel vision, and they're not recognizing all these clues that life's giving them.
Totally.
You have to keep your eyes open.
Absolutely.
Because I see one picture and it changes my whole fucking outlook on shit. You know?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, I think, but dude, I think that's, look, these aren't sexy conversations. You know, like we could be talking about all the girls we fucked or all the shit we did this last week, which, you know, some wild shit went on, right? But like, I don't know. I mean, I feel like for whatever reason, this is part of the journey that, you know, just sharing the truths with people, you know? That's a dope thing to do, you know? I know I felt that watching some podcasts and some Joe Rogan stuff, and I was like, this is a dope way of making content, like having conversations that can maybe change someone's life for real. Not like, oh, I did this and I did that and I made this money. Or, like actually just like put people on the right path, on a eyes open perspective versus kind of in that tunnel vision. And I think that's a worthy mission that I've just kind of fell into. I like doing it. I like feeling like I can help people in that way, you know? And music does that for sure, but I think having discussions about shit like this, they go a long way, you know? I know the messages I get and shit, and this is a great platform to speak to those because I think a lot of them are listeners, but I mean, I get the most passionate messages I get are from kind of us thanking us or me for opening their eyes to like looking at life differently. That's a dope gift to give someone.
I agree.
And I think that's a worthy thing to continue to try to pursue, you know? And again, this doesn't feel like work. We sit down and talk.
I'll tell you right now, if this aspect, if there wasn't that aspect of this job, I wouldn't be doing it.
Yeah.
The podcast. I wouldn't be doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wouldn't put the time in.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be worth it.
That's a lot of work. Like just for those listening, I mean, it's me and John in the room. John's running the audio, the video. He's probably wrote down a bunch of, what do you got in your, what have you been drawing there?
I drew you a picture.
But you know, like it's really, and then John goes and edits it, you know, and there's a lot of work done. And it's all, I love boobs. It's very Jon Kilmer. We're having a heart to heart and he's drawing boobs.
I spent the last hour making this for you.
It's nice. Yeah. I like that. I'll take that.
You inspired me to make this.
You got to autograph it. That should be an NFT. There you go. But yeah, I mean, dude, we put we're spread very thin. We put a lot of work or time into this, but like you said, man, I keep using the word worthy. Our time is worthy of that, you know? Why not? We have this opportunity and we're drawn to it. So let's have these conversations, you know? I think doing this, I don't know how long we've been gone, for a bit now, but
a little over an hour, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it can continue or we can, but my point is like, in any way we can serve people. You talked about core values earlier and shit. Dog, that's a great core value to try to help people. You know, some people might be like, dude, just shut up and make music, or like, you know, there's always those. But dude, look, I get it, but I'm not coming from a place of preaching. We just had a weird life, and I've gone through a lot of things, and to come out on the other side of like the rock and roll lifestyle and be talking about this. What does that say to young men, you know, listening, or men listening? It's like, it's not about that, you know? It's not about that, because we've done all that, you know? And to come back and put the emphasis on this kind of stuff, I think says a lot, you know?
Yep. Well, yeah, that's all I have. Anything else you want to add?
No, but along these lines, I was just talking about it online today. Along these lines, I'm working on a journal.
Right.
It's either going to be keep going, you know, and have the highs, the lows, the in-betweens, do that, or maybe it'll be 2 journals, maybe it'll be 1, or a say thanks journal, which is gratitude. I have that tattoo to say thanks, and this is something we're going to be putting out soon. So like any of this stuff we talk about, where the self-reflection, I get a lot of messages like, dude, I don't know where to start on meditation, don't really know how to journal. Like, I get a lot of those questions. I'm going to make this so it's like kind of our version of like a step-by-step, you know, guided journey to like getting in tune with yourself, getting in tune with your emotions and thinking about the right things as a man, you know, if you feel like you need it, you know. But we're going to continue to push down this path. I think we should do this again. I mean, it wasn't really even an interview. It kind of was.
Yeah.
We were just chopping it up. But yeah, man. And sending us messages, letting us know what's helpful to y'all and what y'all want to hear. That's great. We're starting with guests, but we left LA, so it's not as easy. We do have a bunch of athletes coming into Arizona. We're going to be here for the next 2 months at least. So we'll get some guests in for sure. And we'll keep rocking, keep spreading the Steve gospel. That's all we can ask. Keep spreading the highs. I mean, we have tour dates that we'll be able to discuss shortly, but they won't be, you know, we're a little bit of a ways away before we're actually on road. So to keep spreading the music is a huge gift to me and to us. So please do that.
Man, well, I'm fired up. Do you think we should take a little ceremonial swig of some tequila?
Some tequila? Yeah, why not?
Want to do it? I'm going to see.
It's a great way to end it.
Oh, God.
Wow. Wow. That's not tequila, that's water. You know I don't partake in any fake liquor chugs. I was like, Kilmer, what vibe are you on right now?
For like a split second, I just wanted you to think I was a total piece of shit.
Yeah, you had me there for a second. It's like a Monday night. This guy just got back from fucking getting ready to go to bed. Oh, man.
I only did it because Dwayne Johnson did it.
Hey, but you can attest, for the fans who have been following for a long time, you know the Ciroc chugs. I did it every night. Every single night I chugged vodka. It was about that amount. Maybe, I don't know. In that ballpark, at least.
Yeah.
In that ballpark. Hammered it every night. Was never a fake.
Didn't fake it once.
I couldn't fake it. It was against my morals. It was not great for my body. Maybe I'm living through some of the repercussions, but...
Tell you what, we can end on this. Of all the videos I archived on my Instagram, the ones I didn't archive were the ones where we slammed the whole fucking bottle of Ciroc on stage in front of fans.
Yeah.
And there'd be ones where there were like 5 of us, and we'd drink it, and we'd house an entire bottle during one song.
I mean, dude, think about it. Just think about it. Everyone close your eyes at home. Think about if you're a fucking 16-year-old you, like a kid, right? And you're like, dude, in 5 years from now, you're gonna be in Minnesota in front of 1,000 people. All these girls are gonna have their titties out. And the crowd's gonna erupt every time you and your buddies chug a beer. I'd be like,
what the fuck are you talking about?
what the fuck are you talking about, man? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And that shit happened, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, for whatever reason, you know, we're like, yeah, we're never like rock star level of fame or notoriety, but in those moments, we couldn't have been any more rock star, at least to our fans. In those, you know, we're in 500-person venues, but it's fucking hysteria, and you know, people are going nuts when you're throwing some beer on them, and it's just like, dude, what is this? What reality are we living in? And we experienced that, and then you know, to experience that and not lose our heads in it is an achievement in itself. But it's a funny thing to reflect on the past. A beautiful side of this, I mean, we have so much content from all these years. You know, thanks to you and whoever's been around, Foley and Versace even. But just think about Instagram story archives and shit. Like, we'll have so much to reflect on. And those old Touring's Boring has been taken off the internet for obvious reasons. It was very racy. It was a different time. But, you know, having all that to, you know, in 20 years, I see us meeting up and going through this footage and just laughing our ass off. Because, you know, it was just a crazy ride. And I think we have a lot more ahead of us, you know? This is definitely the most popular I've been as an artist, as a musician, even though we, you know, rebranded just... When did we rebrand? Over a year ago. Almost 2 years ago,
Almost
right?
2 years ago.
Yeah, for that, I mean, for that to be the truth, you know, is a really cool thing. But I think we're at our highest level of notoriety, and I think the touring will go bananas for a while. Who knows when it ends? I don't know. You never know.
You never know.
But it's been a great ride. Can't thank the fans enough, man. You know, really can't. And that's why we'll continue to try to be our best and give y'all as much bang for the buck as we possibly can. You know, we do put a lot of work in. The guys you see in front of us, even, you know, Versace and Blue in his own way, and Foley for sure. You know, everyone lives and breathes this, you know, pretty much. And I hope it feels like that. I think the fans get that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But we appreciate it, and we'll continue to provide the best way we possibly can.
Amen.
Amen, buddy.
All right.
Cheers.
I'm going to bed.
After your tequila swig.